She walked into the company with nothing but a mop, a hoodie, and a plan. No one knew her name. To them, she was just another cleaner, quiet, invisible, and easy to ignore. But behind the uniform was something no one expected: the daughter of the CEO. After overhearing troubling rumors about mistreatment, lazy behavior, and employees who only acted right when the boss was watching, she decided it was time to see the truth for herself, not through reports or meetings, but by stepping right into the dirt and dust of her father's company. For days, she scrubbed the floors while watching everything unfold around her. Some workers were kind, others not so much. There were whispered conversations in corners, rude comments thrown her way, and shocking things said when they thought no one important was listening. They had no idea the so-called cleaner had the power to change their lives in an instant. She took notes, she paid attention, and she saw who was loyal and who was fake. What she found was more than just laziness. It was betrayal, disrespect, arrogance, and worst of all, a toxic culture that had slowly taken root without her father even knowing. But instead of calling a meeting or reporting back right away, she waited. She watched longer. Because when the moment came to reveal who she really was, she wanted it to hit hard. One morning, the entire staff was called to the main hall. Whispers echoed. Faces turned pale as she walked in, this time not with a mop, but in heels, sharp suit, and confidence that stunned the room. And then she spoke. But before she could say the first name on her list, someone interrupted. What they said changed everything. The room froze as a voice called out from the back. It was Marcus, head of operations, one of the top managers. The same man who had once laughed while she scrubbed a coffee spill off his office carpet. "Wait," he said, stepping forward, his face pale but trying to stay calm. "Before anything's said, I think we should talk in private." She raised an eyebrow but said nothing. The silence in the room grew heavier with every second. What the employees didn't know was that Marcus had been on her radar from day one. He acted nice in meetings, but behind closed doors, his true colors showed. She'd watch him take credit for others' ideas, pressure younger staff to stay late without extra pay, and even mock the cleaning crew, never realizing she was listening from just a few feet away. As Marcus walked toward her, others in the room shifted nervously. Some recognized her face now. Whispers spread fast. "That's his daughter." One of them said under their breath, "The cleaner." Everything about her presence here challenged what they thought they knew. People who had treated her like she was nothing were now remembering every word they had said. Others were quietly hoping they had shown enough kindness to be spared. The daughter of the Black CEO wasn't just there to test the team. She was there to protect her father's legacy. He had built this company from the ground up. It meant something to their family. But what she saw during her time undercover made her question if the right people were being trusted with that legacy. And just when she opened her mouth to speak again, another voice cut in, this time from someone she never expected to see in that room. Someone she thought had been gone for good. All heads turned as the second voice echoed through the hall. It belonged to Angela, the former HR manager who had mysteriously quit months ago without warning. She stepped forward from the crowd, her expression calm but serious, like someone who had been holding back too much for too long. The CEO's daughter narrowed her eyes. She remembered Angela. Her father had trusted her, even considered her part of the family. But she'd left without a word and never reached out again. Seeing her now, standing among the employees, only added more questions to the storm already brewing in her mind. "I didn't leave because I wanted to," Angela said, her voice steady. "I left because I was pushed out." A hush fell over the room. She continued, "There were things happening here, things I tried to stop. But every time I brought something to light, someone up top would shut it down. I filed reports, I spoke up, and the next thing I knew, my role was being restructured." The daughter's jaw clenched. This matched what she had started to uncover on her own: toxic management, ignored complaints, A growing culture of fear where speaking out meant risking your job. The deeper she dug during her undercover days, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about lazy employees. It was about a system that protected the wrong people. Meanwhile, Marcus shifted uncomfortably. A few others who had once seemed so confident now stared at the floor. And somewhere in the back, a younger staff member, Sarah, clutched a notebook to her chest. She had seen and heard things too, but she had never felt safe enough to tell anyone. Until now. But just as she took a step forward, the elevator dinged, and out stepped someone who had the power to stop everything right in its tracks. The elevator doors slid open slowly, and everyone turned to look. Out stepped Mr. Carter, the CEO himself. Tall, composed, but with a sharpness in his eyes that said he already knew more than he was letting on. His sudden appearance sent a wave of tension through the room. No one expected him to be here. Not today. Not now. His daughter locked eyes with him. He gave her a small nod, quiet but firm, like a silent signal that it was time. The staff stood frozen. Those who had smiled in his face while undermining his trust were now visibly uneasy. Marcus took a step back. Angela straightened her shoulders. Sarah stopped mid-step, her eyes darting between father and daughter. Mr. Carter walked forward, slow and steady, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. "I've built this company with my bare hands," he said, his voice calm but cold. "And I've always believed in giving people chances, sometimes too many." He turned to his daughter. "Go ahead." She took a deep breath, heart pounding. Her undercover mission had started out as a way to test integrity, loyalty, and leadership. But what she uncovered went far deeper. It wasn't just a few bad apples. It was a pattern, a culture that had grown in the shadows. But before she could speak, Marcus suddenly raised his hand. "I demand to know if this is even legal," he snapped, trying to sound bold, though his voice cracked. "You can't just come in and—" She wasn't just cleaning, Angela interrupted sharply. She was observing, quietly, closely, and what she saw might be what saves this company. Then finally Sarah spoke, voice trembling but clear. "There's something you all need to know," she said. "Something that happened in the finance department, and it wasn't just unethical, it was criminal." The room gasped. And then silence. All eyes snapped to Sarah. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened her notebook, pages marked with dates, notes, and photocopied emails. She looked at the CEO, then his daughter, then the rest of the staff, some of whom were already beginning to panic. "I didn't know who she was at first," Sarah said, glancing at the CEO's daughter, "but when I found out, I knew I had to speak up. Because what's been happening in the finance department isn't just wrong, it's dangerous. Someone's been moving money, hiding numbers, covering things up so smoothly it didn't show in any of the reports." Marcus turned pale. "You're lying," he muttered, voice low. "I'm not," Sarah said, holding up a document. "There are forged approvals, inflated contracts, and even fake vendors. I didn't want to believe it either. But when I dug deeper, the trail led to your name, and to someone else's." The room tensed again. Angela stepped forward slowly. "I tried to expose this a year ago," she said, her voice heavy with emotion. "But someone higher up shut it down before I could act. I didn't know who, but now it makes sense." Mr. Carter's face darkened. "Who else?" Sarah hesitated. Then she looked across the room and pointed. A sharp intake of breath filled the hall as her finger landed on someone no one expected. Mr. Andrews, the CFO. Loyal. Trusted. Practically family. The CFO's expression didn't change. He just exhaled slowly and adjusted his tie. "I was wondering how long it would take," he said quietly. That single sentence cracked the air open. The CEOC room stood in stunned silence. No one moved. No one even breathed. The CFO, Mr. Andrews, didn't flinch. His calm, almost smug expression made the betrayal hit even harder. "You stole from us," Mr. Carter said, voice low but shaking with restrained anger. "Why?" Andrews gave a small, bitter smile. Because I built this company too, but I was always a second name. The shadow. Your face got the credit. Mine got the work. Angela stepped forward. You risked people's jobs, their lives, just to feel important. I risked nothing. Andrews snapped. Until he nodded at the CEO's daughter started snooping around with her little mop and notebook. But it was too late now. Sarah's documents were solid. Angela's earlier complaints now made sense, and with both the CEO and his daughter standing together, the power dynamic had shifted completely. Mr. Carter looked around the room. Effective immediately, Mr. Andrews is suspended pending investigation. Legal will handle the rest. Marcus, you're done too. Security quietly stepped in. No drama. Just quiet exits that said more than words ever could. The daughter turned to Sarah. You did the right thing, she said, placing a hand on her shoulder. You're safe now. People began to breathe again, the weight lifting. But just as they started to process everything, a soft ping came from the CEO's phone. He checked it, and his expression changed. He slowly turned the screen toward his daughter. The email was anonymous. No name, just one line. ********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* Asterisk, asterisk. Her heart dropped. The story wasn't over. The email stayed on her mind for days. While the company picked up the pieces and moved forward, that one message kept her grounded, reminding her that truth doesn't always show up all at once. It comes in layers, in whispers, in quiet signs you have to be willing to follow. She didn't share the message with anyone else. Not yet. For now, she and her father agreed to handle it quietly. If there was something buried overseas, they'd uncover it together, just like they had with everything else. In the meantime, the office began to feel different, lighter. The kind of place where people said good morning and actually meant it, where younger employees felt seen, not just used. Sarah received recognition during the next team meeting, and Angela began leading workshops on ethical leadership and transparency. For the first time in years, people felt like they could breathe again. The CEO stepped back from daily operations, not because he was giving up, but because he finally trusted his daughter to take the lead. She'd proven she wasn't just the Black CEO's daughter, she was a leader in her own right. Undercover or not, she saw people for who they really were. And that was the kind of leadership the company needed. The scandal faded from headlines, but the lessons stuck. It wasn't just a story about corporate betrayal or cleaning up a broken system. It was about courage, accountability, and listening to the voices that often go unheard. As she stood in her new office overlooking the city, she smiled. The building was still the same, but the heart of the company had changed. And maybe that was the real success. Because sometimes to clean up a mess, you have to be willing to get your hands dirty first.